In this video, we'll cover the Spring Boot actuator. So here's the problem. You may have the question, how can I monitor and manage my application? Also, how can I check the application status? And finally, how can I access some application metrics? Well, one solution here is by making use of the Spring Boot actuator. So the Spring Boot actuator actually exposes endpoints for you to monitor and manage your application. So you easily get the DevOps functionality out of the box. You simply add the dependency to your Maven POM file, and then these REST endpoints are automatically added to your application. So the nice thing about it is that there's no need to write additional code. You get these new REST endpoints for free. And I like free stuff, so this is pretty cool. Now, adding the dependency to the Maven POM file, we simply give a reference here and we say Spring Boot Starter Actuator, and that'll basically give us support for these metrics and monitoring of our given application. Now remember, Spring Boot Actuator automatically exposes endpoints for metrics out of the box. All of the endpoints are prefixed with /actuator. Now here are some of the endpoints that we can make use of. So we have /health. This gives you health information about your application. And there's some other endpoints that I'll talk about in a bit. And just remember, you get these new REST endpoints for free. So again, there's no additional coding you have to do. You simply add that item to the actual Maven dependency for Spring Boot Actuator, and you're ready to go. So now let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the health endpoint. So the health endpoint, or /health, checks the status of your application. This is normally used by monitoring apps to see if your application is up or down. So here's a little screenshot of our given application, /actuator, /health. Right now the status is up. Now this health status is customizable, so you can actually customize this based on your own custom business logic. Now by default, only /health is exposed. The /info endpoint can provide more information about your application. You can actually customize it. Now to expose /info, you need to make an update in the application.properties file. For this property here, management.endpoints.web.exposure.include equals health, info. We're simply giving a comma delimited list of endpoints to expose. Also, we'll set the property here for management.info.env.enabled equals true. And once we set these two items up, then this will expose the /info endpoint. Now let's take a look at the info endpoint. So /info gives you information about your application. So the default is that it's actually empty. So if you access this endpoint, you'll get this empty JSON object, which is nothing. You're like, that's not too useful. So we actually need to customize this info endpoint. And we can do that by updating the application properties with our given information. So we simply add in some properties here for info.appName, app.description, and app.version, and that's our actual info for our given /info endpoint. Now, anything starting with info. As far as the property name, then that'll be used by this /info endpoint. So here's a little screenshot here. So I have actuator /info, and it'll send back a JSON object that has the information from this given properties file. And again, remember, everything's keyed on the info. So anything following info. Will be used as part of this given JSON object. And you can customize it. You can add as much details here as you'd like for this given info for your application. Now let's take a look at some other Spring Boot actuator endpoints. So there's actually 10 plus actuator endpoints that are available. Here's a small sample. So you have /audit events. It gives you a list of the audit events for your application. /beans will give you a list of all beans that are registered in the Spring application context. /mappings will give you a list of all request mappings for your given application. Now, for a full list of all of the actuator endpoints, you simply go to this link here, lovetocode.com/actuator endpoints, and it'll redirect you to the official Spring Boot actuator documentation, and you can see a full list of all of those actuator endpoints. All right, now by default, only the /health endpoints are exposed. If you want to expose all of the actuator endpoints over the web, then you simply make this entry here in your properties file. So in application.properties, we can make use of the wildcard to expose all endpoints. We can also expose individual endpoints with a comma delimited list. But for right now, we'll use the wildcard. So I'll say management.endpoints.web.exposure.include equals star. So this given entry here will expose all of the Spring Boot Actuator endpoints over the web. Now, once we have that set up to get a list of beans for a given application, then we can go to localhost/actuator/beans, and it'll give us an actual dump or a JSON of all of the beans that are registered with this Spring application context. So this is pretty cool. But, and hold on here, you're probably wondering, what about security? Because I really don't want to expose all of this information to anyone on the web. And I got you covered. So we'll actually cover security in some of the later videos. So we'll actually add security and we'll lock down these Spring Boot Actuator endpoints only to authorized users who have to log in with the user ID and password. So we'll cover all of those steps in later videos. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the development process. So the first step is simply editing our Maven POM file, and we add the Spring Boot Starter Actuator dependency. Then we can go through and view the actuator endpoints for /health and /info. And remember, we get all those endpoints for free. And then we can actually edit our application.properties and customize the /info endpoint so we can give specific information or custom information for our given application. And we'll cover that in the next section here.